Alright guys, so I sped up the video just a little bit to get the first beginning was all the updates and changes they made over the years, the different packs that they have. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty awesome. But now we're gonna see what the changes they did to the characters for the balancing. So they're starting off with how they released all the characters. So double checking, and here we go.
Here's the list of the 10 characters. I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. These are the 10 characters who did not get any balance adjustments. Saberwolf, TJ Combo, Conra, Riptor, Hisako, Cinder, Shadow Jago, Arbiter, Mira, and Kilgore. That's 10, right?
Yeah, that's 10.
I can count, yeah. So the winner of the guessing contest on Twitter was Dylan Deck with 6 correct guesses. Thanks to everyone who participated in that. That was a good bit of fun.
Fun stuff.
And for the rest of the list, we're going to go through in release order. So we will start off with Mr. Jago. Whoops. There we go. I'm going to be doing player 1 with arcade stick and player 2 with a gamepad, and sometimes I'll have to do both at once. We'll see how that goes for me.
Okay.
So I want refill on the meters. I got my input display on. Looking good. Cool. And we're off, everybody. We increased Jago's forward and backward walk speeds by 10%. This small improvement will help Jago maintain favorable screen position. So he's a little bit faster now. It feels pretty nice, I would say.
That seems huge, yeah. That is a really... I think walk speed is one of the biggest buffs a character can ever get. It's really
Yeah, sometimes it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
We also drastically improved the hitbox and active time of Jago's jumping heavy punch, this guy right here. This move has like a pizza cutter quality to its animation, but the hitbox is very conservative on that compared to other similar looking jumping attacks. So these improvements are going to help it make it feel as good as it looks. So it hits a little earlier and up a little higher, and it also lasts a little longer and hits behind him for a little longer. So it's really easy to get those kind of juicy cross-ups with it. It's a small change, but it's pretty nice. And then here's probably my favorite change of all of the changes in the entire change list. We did some adjustments to the Tiger's Fury special.
Okay.
So, Jack of all trades protagonist characters often find themselves in an undesirable spot late in a game's life cycle. Jago is a very complete character, but he does not stand out and isn't scary in the way that much of the rest of the cast is. We wanted to figure out how to add some threat to Jago's toolkit, and decided to lean into our mantra of high risk, high reward. So to do this, we've decided to center Jago's identity around the idea of high damage Tiger's Fury. So the light Tiger's Fury now does 26 damage, used to be 18. The medium now does 30, used to be 22. And the heavy now does 34, used to be 26. So this is a very significant amount of extra damage, but it gets really wild when we turn on our counter hits. Because these got an even bigger buff on counter hit. So the counter hit damage on, and they actually have a ton of extra hit stop as well. So the light one is now 32 on counter hit. Got that kind of juicy freeze to it. The medium's 40. And here's the scary one, heavy, 50 damage up front. So these hurt really bad. And if you jump and press the button and you get clipped out of the air by this guy, yeah, that's a lot of life to lose to an unbreakable single hit. But it's very risky. If they block this, you know you're going to get blown up. You're going to eat a 19% unbreakable opener in reply. And what we found in practice was that, you know, the rest of Jago's fairly mundane toolkit, like his fireballs and faking those out and getting you to jump and doing some of his little frame traps that are, you know, cute but not super scary, suddenly they become a lot scarier when if you decide to press jab or something and he decides to just risk one of these, you take a ton of damage.
That does so much damage. I like, my favorite thing is you're like, we're very, you know, conservative with our changes, and you're like, Jago murders you if you get hit by DP. That is really funny.
Not all of them are the most conservative changes, but, you know, the goal was to compress the top characters down a little and the bottom characters up a little. You know how it goes.
That's balancing.
This was an interesting one with our test group as well, our NDA test group. And I'm sure they'll tell you after this is over, but I pitched this change to them and they were all horrified. And I was like, just let me put it in tomorrow and see how it feels. Let's just try it for a week, and if we hate it, we'll take it out. And they came around on it like almost instantly. They were like, yeah, this is actually super fun and cool, and it really works for the character and gives him some identity that he kind of needed. So Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm very scared of like counter hit DP instinct. That sounds like a bad time. Yeah,
But you
that
need
seems-
first hit for all that big damage, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
last, yeah.
I mean, that seems really good for Jago. His walk speed, I think, is like so nice too. I think the matches where he has to walk you down, where his screen control is just not good, and doing wind kick from full screen, you just die. Like those kinds of matchups, I think the walk speed will really help.
Exactly. So the last change for Jago is we made the first active frame of the shadow wind kick reach a little lower. And we also made the push box taller for the first 4 frames. This is a little nitty gritty, but there were some cases where he could shadow counter someone who was low profiling, and he would just sail right over him. And this prevents most of those cases. There are still some cases where a character is side switching with him, and he'll still miss. But this stops some of the cases where the person was like low profiling. So
It's all nerf, man.
you having a frame rate problem?
An advantages for this guy, man.
Yeah, sure.
Jesus.
Let me kill my feed real quick.
I mean, he is one of the poster boys, though, still, but...
And then reopen it. That fixes everything.
Yeah. It has been running for a while.
Yeah, it also looked good for me, so.
I wonder how this works with Shadow, Jago,
Try the
though.
720. See how it looks. Alright, let me know.
Because we're waiting for the next
You good,
one.
Derek? Are we good? Am I back?
I think you're back.
Okay. I think it booted me for a second. Looking good? Looking clean again?
Yeah, you are.
I'm missing like everybody on the stream here.
Oh.
Okay. I don't have Sajam or James on the feed anymore. Oh, there they are. They're coming back. All right. I must have had an internet hiccup or something. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Okay, cool. Well, we're good, yeah?
I love that the game freezes for like a full second when you do the DP, and the hit stop is unreal.
Yeah, it's pretty juicy. I'm a big fan. You can feel it in your chest when that hits you. Okay, cool. That is it for Mr. Jago. Moving
That's
on.
true. That's how it really
I like those
feels.
changes. The walk speed especially. I'm a walk speed enthusiast. That's like the best buff I could get.
Yeah.
So I'm all about it.
All right, so now I'm using my gamepad to play Glacius. We got some changes for Glacius here. We reduced the frame advantage after a successful combo breaker to 0. It used to be +4. He used to have the most advantage off of a combo breaker in the game. And it also left you at a distance where he could kind of just do this, and because he was +4, that was tough to deal with. So this change should make that situation feel a lot more manageable after a combo breaker from Glacius. I guess I'll try to demo that. I'm gonna hold up on both. Look at that. They're about even. Pretty good. All right. We also reduced the pushback on block from the light, medium, and heavy cold shoulder attacks, so their frame data actually matters. These are -3, -5, and -8 on block, which remains unchanged, but previously Glacius could be so far out of range that most characters couldn't punish him even if he was very negative. So let's see what that looks like. That's the heavy, that's the light, that's the medium. He's very in there, so you can actually get punishes on this guy now. That's a huge change for Glacius. They're going to have to be a lot more thoughtful with this move, cover it with hail a lot more often to make sure that they have some insurance behind them. But there is kind of a bonus to this, where if you make somebody block this and then you go Shadow Hail, you can actually get a true block string with it, which wasn't true before. If they're standing. If they're crouching, I think they can still wiggle out. But kind of a big deal for Glacius to not be able to just throw that out quite as often.
a lot of Glacius players
And
won't
then
be
last
happy
up
with
for
that
Glacius,
one.
we added 4 frames of recovery time on whiff and block to the instinct teleport puddle punch. It's now -16 on block, used to be -12. All combos on hit are the same, the manual cancel window hasn't changed, so it feels exactly like it used to. The difference is if somebody jumps it or blocks it, they're going to have a bit more time to hit him and maybe deal with the armor. Some characters like Arbiter could block that from a range where they couldn't really hit a Fierce or anything like that to even deal with the armor, so that helps as well in that matchup. And yeah, that's it for Glacius.
Oh, but
this
that
is
does
all right.
change the way he
whip
plays,
on
though.
Puddle punch, yeah. I mean, it was very often that you would just like jump and
You have to have more
I'll be
cover
there,
and
then he would
everything.
just be like, I don't care, and then just smoke you with armor. So you're like, well.
Yep. Next up, we're going to put Thunder and Sadira on the screen.
All right.
All right, so for Thunder, it's kind of a big one. we limited the time window in which a follow-up has to be chosen after all versions of Sammamish. So visually, once Thunder's feet start to drop below Jago's head, Sidira works for this, she's about the same height as him, follow-ups will no longer be possible. So you used to be able to do these up to 1 frame before you touch the floor. So check out my input display over on the left, you can see when I'm pressing the buttons, right? If I do the Sammamish and I fall below her head and I hit that button, nothing happens. I have to do it much earlier than that. Right? But if you hit it above the head, you know, you can still get out whatever follow-ups you want to get out. So you have to commit to these a bit earlier than you did before. And that kind of gets rid of some of the most frustrating nonsense that Thunder was kind of doing to people, which is just kind of throwing this out, abusing the high priority and projectile invulnerability, and then hitting a follow-up so low to the ground that it was so hard to deal with his choices no matter what they were. So huge change for Thunder. We also added 5 additional frames of recovery time to landing after Sammamish, Surprise Knee, or Dropkick. So that doesn't apply to Skyfall, but if you just land from a Sammamish, or you land from Dropkick or Surprise Knee, you use 5 more frames of recovery before you can block or jump right there as well. So players are going to be able to probably, in most cases, react to which choice he makes because of when he has to make it, and be able to punish him if he's making really bad guesses with this move. So again, huge change for Thunder.
That's really big.
This would be a huge nerf overall for him if we didn't add a couple buffs back in, which we wanted to do because, again, the goal of this change was to just reduce one of those frustrating aspects, not to necessarily nerf the character.
Okay.
And you'll see a couple of those in the change list as well. So what we did was we increased his forward and backward walk speeds by 20% to compensate for this stuff and help him play a more strong, grounded game with his strong set of normals and specials. So this dude is moving pretty fast now. Huge increase for him. And he has some incredible buttons to press, all kinds of great ranges on these. This is really going to help him play the footsies game, play the ground game, keep control of the match. And then the last thing we did for him to compensate was we shortened the recovery time on Call of Sky, where you give the Crow's buff to yourself by 5 frames. So Lightning still hits on the same frame, but it has 5 frames less recovery, so you can get that buff on yourself a little bit more easily in matches where an opponent can quickly throw themselves across the screen and punish you. Helps a lot. That's it for Thunder.
Man, those are great changes. I was gonna say too, the one thing about the walk speed is like walking up and doing DP to like beat stuff. Sammamish is probably much easier too, right? Because you're already walking forward, so it gives you that extra little range to like walk in and then get like the tip reach of it where it's hard to walk away from it. So that might also help a bit too.
Especially if people are poking with mids and like from this range, right?
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I think everybody knows that when Thunder just is doing Sammamish over and over in neutral, like it sucks, right? You're just like, dude, this sucks. Like I'm just getting help. Like so,
Exactly.
I'm happy that the game plan is moving slightly away from that and towards stuff about it that's more fun to deal with.
Like I said, the goal of the changes a lot is to kind of take some of those frustrators and sand them down a little bit. Make the characters a little bit more fun to fight against, but still keep them strong. All right.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Sidira.
It's really just balancing.
We fixed a bug that allowed her to cancel her to call her web instinct projectiles during a combo breaker. So she could do a combo breaker, call the web projectiles, and she could actually get pressure off a combo breaker, which just isn't in the spirit of the game. So we just got rid of that ability. Small thing.
What?
But we did want to give her a buff. We increased Sidira's forward and backward walk speeds by 20%. Now, as you know, percents are a larger number on a character that was already kind of fast, so she is really cruising. She's among the fastest ground characters in the game now. Really fast.
So fast.
She's really fast, but she had like this problem before where her jumping is actually really fast as well, and it was much faster than her walking. So you would see this.
That's true.
And what we made this change basically so that when Sidira players don't want to jump around like an unhinged maniac, they can actually use her great grounded buttons and keep control of the game, get in position for those really nice anti-airs. This one especially, right? This leads to a lot of party. And I think it really just helps the character a lot if the Sidira player can stop holding up. So we'll see how well that goes for the Sidira community.
Yeah, you're like not gonna. Sidira players are gonna be like, dude, we got no buffs. They're gonna be playing for like 3 weeks and be like, did this character get a single change?
Yeah, there are some players who do play a more grounded Sidira, and I think those players are going to make the character look really scary.
Yeah.
So she's already pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Next up.
Let's check out Orchid. And let's check out Swingle.
Ooh, I'm very interested.
All right, so for Orchid, let me turn Spinal on Human real quick. She's got quite a few changes actually, so this will take a minute. But we fixed the bug that allowed her to cancel her ground combo breaker into Shadow Uppercut. I can't demo it obviously because it's gone, but she had this. I mean, it was wild. She could combo break you, cancel into Shadow Uppercut. You wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Lots of damage.
Yeah.
It's just not in the spirit of the game. That was one of the changes I was most scared to physically do because I was like, okay, this is either gonna be like a week's worth of the most complicated, risky work I've ever done, or I'm gonna delete one line of code and it's gonna be fine. It was the second one. I deleted one line of code and this was fixed. So, yay! Got lucky.
Yeah, I know everybody wanted this fixed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad that that's gone. We also fixed the same bug that Sadira had, where she could call her Jaguars during a combo breaker and get pressure off of combo breakers. Again, not really in the spirit of the game, so we wiped that away. But on to the Orchid improvements, because this is a character that really hasn't put up a lot of results
but still.
in the last 5 years. And she's really cool, so we wanted to give her some stuff and see how it goes. First up, we did some instinct mode improvements. The Jaguars now deal an additional 15 frames of hit stun to grounded opponents. So let's see how that looks like. Much longer hit stun. That linked, even that slow. So that really helps her kind of put together a combo, which is great. The Jaguars now launch airborne opponents into a better position for a juggle, which is really nice. And they have a longer hitbox. So it used to be they only had kind of a hitbox on the front legs, and now it's all the way to the Jaguar's butt.
Okay.
So if you jump over them and land on the butt area, you'll actually get hit, which makes them a little bit more threatening and all that stuff. So her instinct functions pretty similarly to like Rash's and Sadira's, but it was just like a lot harder for her to get the same kinds of rewards off of this as them. So I think this change really helps her with a little bit of lab time, find some really interesting things, like especially if you build in the grenade to some of these setups, to get some really interesting combos and resets going. Pretty cool change.
Pretty insane.
Next up, we got some adjustments to the knee slide. The light knee slide is now -2 on block, used to be 5. That's this one. It used to be -5, now it's -2. The medium slide now travels farther and faster.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
It's about as far as the heavy one used to. And it now has 7 additional frames of recovery time and 5 additional frames of startup before it starts moving, because it moves so quickly.
Yeah.
It's -8 on block now, used to be -7. And here's where we get a little wild. This is not a conservative change. The heavy slide now travels much farther and faster. Yeah. It has 10 additional frames of startup before it starts moving, so you can see she kind of holds for a second before she starts sliding. It doesn't even combo off some of these buttons anymore. I still have counter hits on, and that still didn't combo, so it's much slower, you can tell. It has 22 additional frames of recovery on whiff, so that if people jump it, they can actually hit her. And it's -13 on block, you see -10. So the reasoning for this, a lot of characters on the roster have similar low-hitting, sliding, kick special moves, and upon review it was pretty clear that Orchid's was the worst of the bunch by a lot. These improvements should help in a lot of various aspects of Orchid's game plan. In fact, our first pass at updating these helped so much that we had to go back and give them slower startup and more recovery on whiff and block that I just demoed to make sure that they didn't run away with the game, because the first version of this was wild. And I'm
Yeah,
sure
it really was, man.
Yeah, it
True.
was wild.
Yeah, I mean, I totally
Odd
believe it. These are
times
nice,
back
though.
in the
I
day.
think it's a good assessment that like she had a lot of similar moves to other characters, but they just didn't feel as good.
It's just like the worst version of slide, right?
Yeah. And like her instinct too. There's a lot of, as you mentioned, there's other instincts that kind of
But
serve
I
the same
just thought
purpose.
that was
So it's good
just
to see
killer,
her
you
have
know?
something.
Yeah, and she's a cool character, so we'd love to see more of her, right? One other change we gave her, this is a really nice one. We adjusted the startup of the Shadow Knee slide, that's this guy right here, so that it's immune to projectiles on frame 0. It used to be frame 2. So she was one of the only characters in the game who, if she had a meaty projectile on her, she actually couldn't use her projectile invincible move to get through it. So that's now fixed, which is very nice.
Okay.
And we fixed a couple counter hit issues on her. Like I said, we're not going to go over those fully on this stream, but that is it for Orchid. Not too bad. Alright.
Yeah,
Nice.
those are great.
Slides go farther.
So Spinal, very short list for Spinal. We increased his forward walk speed by 20%. Look at him go. He's coming to get you. And his back walk speed's increased by 10%. These are going to help Spinal find a better spacing and more matchups to land those crucial anti-airs and pokes to get his game started. Because he has a pretty good set of moves, it's just, he was so slow, it was really hard for him to get into position. And when you feel this forward walk, you're going to be like, oh wow, that, I mean, you can see, he's kind of stomping at you, right? It's
Yeah.
a pretty big difference. And that's it for Spinal.
Nice. That seems about right. Yeah, that's cool though. I mean, I think he's not a character that walks a ton, but when he does walk, having that extra little bit of juice.
Just more speed for
This is very
Spinal,
nice.
that's okay.
You know, all his
Alright.
old creaky bones.
We like that.
Yeah.
I like
We are
to
moving
play
on
with
to
Spinal a
Fulgore,
lot,
the
so.
most changed character in the history of this game by a lot, probably, right?
Yeah,
and
remember
today
old
we'll be
heavy
knowing-
laser?
Fulgore.
Alright. So Fulgore's a tricky beast. He's got this special custom meter that he relies on. He can do everything. You know, he's been proven to be a pretty ridiculous character time and time again, no matter how we seem to adjust him. So here's another attempt at that, and let's see how it goes. So Blade Dash, this move right here, this guy. We made some adjustments to that. We've adjusted the block stun on all the normal, uncharged versions of the Blade Dash to make them more negative. They used to be -2, -3, and -4. Now they're -4, -6, and -8 for light, medium, and heavy. So that's a pretty big change. I need to put Maya on playable real quick. There we go. So block with her, and then two-hand this, do one of these, and then you can actually get punished. Look at that. That's neat. Alright, so moving on. This is kind of a burf. This is a nerf and a buff. So bear with me until I get through this whole section on this one, because there's a lot going on here. Fulgore can now pip cancel the Blade Dash on whiff or block into any of the following special moves. Energy Bolt, Eye Laser, Plasma Cord, Plasma Slice.
Fake outs.
Previously, he could only do Plasma Slice and only on whiff. So even if you blocked this, you wouldn't be able to do Plasma Slice or anything like that. So Blade Dash is a powerful tool that lets Fulgore close in without much risk. To adjust this, what we really wanted to try, and what our test group really was interested in, was making it more negative on block, and forcing Fulgore to use his pips to do cancels to cover himself, which I love the idea of. But when we started investigating it, we were like, oh, he's only allowed to do this and only on whiff, so we have to open up these options to make this plan work. So that's what we did. We opened up these options. The result of this has weakened one of Fulgore's best options in neutral, but it's increased the strength of his instinct mode, so we've opted to pull back on Fulgore in various other ways to compensate and ensure he ends up a bit weaker overall. You know, I think you'll want to test this one in the lab on your stream a little bit later, but what you'll find, and this is very hard for me to do with two controllers with one dude, but if he's doing this and he's canceling into things, there is a gap, right? And you're going to be able to press your 5-frame button in there in almost every case, except for if he risks an uppercut. So he's got to kind of convince you to calm down in most cases. Or he has to charge up a Blade Dash first so that he can get a better frame advantage before he does the cancel. It's not quite as scary as it sounds, but it does take a little bit of bravery, I guess, to know that you should be pressing a button after you block that most of the time now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Also, yeah, this move is pretty wild. For a character who has movement and fireballs and everything like he had before, I mean, yeah, him just flying around the screen with that move whenever he wanted, and just buffering like a linker or auto double for free, and then just escaping after was really strong.
So the next change, I think the rest of these are nerfs. Heavy Eye Laser now deals 20 kV instead of 10, and that's because our changes gave him a new looping combo, which is, you know, cancel this into that, and then cancel that into that. Oops, cancel that into that. So it's like that. And you can just keep hitting lasers, right? You get 5 of those before the combo breaks. Used to be, you know, before we made that change, 10, which was it's a lot to spend for not a lot of damage, but an instinct, it was a little scary because of how his instinct works. So we had to make that change. We also made some adjustments to his instinct mode because it became more powerful thanks to these Blade Dash changes. So to combat this, we made it so that his instinct mode spends a little bit of its remaining time every time he uses a free pip cancel. So he's going to lose 5 points for each free cancel, with the exception of Energy Bolts 2 and 3, which only cost 2 points. So for context, the instinct meter is 250 points long. You lose 16.6 points per second, resulting in a 15-second duration. So watch Fulgore's instinct meter here. I'm going to throw the multiple fireballs. You can see little chunks of the instinct time being taken away. And I can do some of these other cancels, and you can see more chunks of the instinct time are getting taken away every time he does that. So if the Fulgore player goes absolutely wild in this mode, kind of similar to Tusk's Berserker cancels, you can probably expect like an 11 or 12 second instinct mode instead of a 15-second one, which makes a massive difference.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
Give you a quick update from the chat. It's not a question. I just want to talk about the journey that you've taken them on. I've watched chat go from no, yes. Some people found Jesus. Oh God.
Yeah. It's the sum of all parts, right? You gotta wait till you hear it all.
I think you've taken them on the journey to happiness. Some people are going to be very happy. I think some people are still a little distressed. What did they
most
do?
people are more
Anyway,
distressed.
very good update. This World War I did not disappoint.
Yeah, you guys will definitely have to see how you feel once you play it. Snap judgments are not your friend. Play it for a week, go into the lab, see how you feel after that. It'll all gel together, or it won't, and you'll tell us, and then maybe we'll adjust it again. Who knows? Let's keep going. We got more nerfs for Fulgor.
Here we
Who wants
go.
more nerfs for Fulgor? I do. All right, so we made some adjustments to the light and medium eye lasers. Both the light and medium eye lasers have had their hit stop and block stop time increased from 6 frames to 15 frames. This results in a much more legible and reactable freeze frame when blocking each hit. See how much chunkier that is? It used to be like pew, and now it's pew, pew. Medium eye laser remains -3 on block, but light eye laser is now -6 on block, which means it is punishable by jabs and stuff like that. If you don't space it right, there you go, punishable. So the previous versions of these were powerful pressure tools that hit low, and as a bonus, were very hard to shadow counter due to their short hit stop and Fulgor's ability to mix between 1 or 2 hits. So we've made these changes to give these moves a bit more identity and help opponents fight against them. So now Fulgor players are choosing between a single hit low that's punishable when blocked, or a 2-hit low that's safe on block but can be more easily shadow countered on reaction. So let's see if I can. Yeah, pretty easy to shadow counter that on reaction now. Definitely a big change for Fulgor players. They're going to have to rethink the use of that move a little bit to make sure that they can't just get in your face and let it rip over and over again. So if you were worried about him coming in with the drill and then shooting lasers at your feet and you just being overwhelmed, that's not going to be nearly as overwhelming as you might have thought once you get this into practice.
Nice.
But that's not all. We also added 6 additional frames of recovery time to the plasma port, the teleport, before Fulgor is allowed to take another action. So that may not sound like a lot, but in practice it actually makes punishing teleports in neutral much more reasonable, reduces the speed of some of his nastiest mix-ups. Some of his mix-ups where he got 2 teleports, so he should only get 1 now. If you see that animation, you can do even a medium button, and it's more likely to come out the correct direction as well. Because a lot of times, because of the timing of the old version, you would try to press the button to punish, you would swing the wrong way and he would appear behind you, right? And your button's much more likely to come out the correct way right now. That doesn't mean he still won't be a menace with these. He's still gonna throw fireballs and kind of mix in the teleports to cover them and do all kinds of nasty stuff. But definitely, again, a lot more thoughtful version of the move than we previously had.
Yeah, that is huge. 6 frames on that is huge for sure. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Big difference.
We also noticed that Fulgor's hit stun, block stun, and counter hit stun values on his energy bolt projectiles, that's these guys right here, were very inconsistent. So we did a pass to normalize them, but weaken them a bit overall. The light ones had more hit stun than the heavy ones, but the medium ones had the least. It just didn't make sense, so we just went through and gave them a single set of values. You'll see those values in the full patch notes.
Okay, that's okay.
A little bit worse than they were. All the combos that he used to have involving them still work as far as I've been able to tell. I think Nikki helped me figure that out as well, so I'm confident that that's a good change. We also added 4 additional frames of hit stop and block stop to the first hit of double claw to make that a little bit easier to shadow counter as well. It's one of the harder command normals to shadow counter. I don't know if you can feel those 4 frames over the stream, but it's a small change but an effective one, I think. We also fixed a bug that was exclusive to Fulgor and Kilgore, where his shadow counter had 7 less frames of catch time, so 7 less frames of parry time, and 10 less frames of recovery time, so we normalized those. Yeah, and there was a counter hit issue we fixed as well. But I fully expect Fulgor to still be, a top 5 character after all this. You're just gonna have to play a bit more thoughtfully. And he's honestly a very good character at doing that. He has pretty good buttons and a good set of neutral tools. It's just the kind of more hog wild style of Fulgor is probably a little less.
Yeah, it's more
less something you'll want to consider.
A little less barbaric. But yeah, I mean his tool set is so good that it's he has everything you'd want and more in a character. I think that's what draws people to him. He's so fun because of that. So I think the new cancels will help make up some ground there. People will be excited to mess with that.
Yeah, people will still lose to Nikki and be in shambles. So
That's true. That's
we'll
right.
see how it
Still,
goes.
the
All right, so
cancels
next
make him
up,
a bit
there's
more
one little change we did for
unpredictable.
TJ Combo, a bug fix I just wanted to mention. He used to not be able to cancel a kick manual into Shadow Vortex, like an oddly specific thing. We found a weird line of code in there that nobody knows where it came from that strictly prevented that for some reason. So we removed it, and that was fixed. So it's just a small change for TJ folks. Little combo you weren't able to do before, you can now do. But let's move on to Maya. One change for Maya. You know I'm a Dagger Assault fan, Steve. The Dagger Assault no longer ends if Maya gets hit, but it will still end if she gets knocked down. So let's take a look. We need to build up some pips. And we will go ahead and land the Dagger Assault. And then we punch her, and it's still hitting me. Oh no, this is horrible.
Wow.
But if I knock her down, it will end immediately. So if you throw her or knock her down, it'll end immediately. Dagger Assault's a lot of fun. We had to design it very conservatively to avoid being a total nightmare for opponents. This change is going to make it a bit easier to use without tipping the scales too much. And I think one of the most important things to remember here is that she has no high-low mix-up except for this overhead. And this overhead actually puts her in the air, so if you hit her out of this, she falls down, even with a jab. So if she wants to do any type of mix-up to you other than a strike throw while you're blocking these, she's either going to have to jump and do like an empty low or something, or she's going to have to do one of these and put herself in a position where she can get jabbed out, which means she falls, and then the daggers fall out as well. I don't know how big a change this is in practice. I think it's fairly minor in most matchups. It'll really depend on what kind of really tight setups Maya players are able to develop for this. But it does add a lot of fun to the move and remove some of the risk of it. I think it was one of the riskier things to do with Maya, if you didn't have instinct to immediately call those daggers back. So I do expect to see Maya players get a little bit more mileage out of this, which is great. That's what we want.
Yeah, that's good. Because she was odd, man, when she loses the daggers.
Alright, moving on. I have an Omen change that I'm not going to demonstrate, I'm just going to read it. We reduced Omen's meter gain on all of his enders except his meter type ender, which is the Rashakuken. So he remains the king of meter gain, but it ended up feeling a bit too snowbally to let Omen build so much meter off of his most damaging ender types. This change should force Omen players who need meter to actually use the meter ender, which should in turn lower his overall damage and threat output.
Nice. Yeah, he kind of, I mean, that's the nice thing about having 17 enders that are all battery enders, huh? It's like, alright, cool.
Just do whichever one you want. You're going to have plenty of meter, right?
Yeah.
He still builds good meter on those enders, it's just way less than before.
Yeah, Omen was wild, so.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Alright,
No,
it's
you
time
have
to look at
characters that are wild, characters that were controlled.
Reduce the amount of hit stun inflicted by medium and shadow versions of Natural Disaster to prevent them from comboing directly into Shadow Payload Assault. So let's take a look. I'll do the medium one, and then I'll go into Shadow Payload Assault, and I can, well, that didn't combo, but I can't block because I forgot to put it on human controls. There we go. Let's try that again. Take two.
Alright.
She got hit, but she's able to block, right? That's not a true thing anymore. And it's the same with the Shadow version. Whoops. That used to be a true combo. That's no longer a true combo as well.
Okay.
This is going to make confirming into Aghanos's most damaging unbreakable combos way less common and require him to give you at least one breakable window in most of those cases before going into them. So I'll have to do those moves, then manual into like a heavy, and then do it, which is a pretty big deal. You will still be able to combo directly into Shadow Payload Assault if the Shadow Natural Disaster recaptures. Let's see if I can actually do that here.
Okay. Yeah,
Because that recapture animation is so long, you'll still be able to get it in that case, but in all other cases, you won't be able to get it.
Nice, okay.
Alright, we reduced the wall crash damage on Aghanos to 48. It used to be 60. Now these values are going to look wild because Arya doesn't heal potential damage. She has way less health than other characters. But you have to trust me, this does less damage, a lot less damage, like 25% less than before. We also reduced the damage per hit from Heavy Payload Assault, that's this guy right here, to 2 per hit. It used to be 8. And that sounds more drastic than it is, but that's because of how many hits it does and the way scaling works in the game. So it still adds a significant amount of damage to Unbreakable Wall Crash setups, just a bit less than before. So, let's see if I can do one of these combos here. Something like that. I need to do Stomp Walk, right? The damage values are going to look nuts on Arya, but
Yeah. She has a million potential damage already.
yeah. I couldn't fit the jump back there. I'm not going to demo this too many times because I haven't played in a while. Yeah, I missed the follow-up, but it does a lot less. I'm going to stop doing that demo now.
Yeah, I think hitting the unbreakable or harder breakable stuff makes a lot of sense. That's like kind of the most frustrating thing to deal with now.
Yeah. Speaking of frustrating things, this move. We added 7 frames of stop time when you block this. The projectile part specifically, to make it a little bit more clear when it's your turn to press a button. And actually, I think Arya is one of the characters who can punish this from lots of ranges. Whoops, I'm trying to do the 2-hand version of this. Oh, I can't get it. Oh well. But yeah, there's a bit more time there, so it's more clear when it's your turn, which is very nice. This is a really big one for Aghanos as well. We reduced the block stun time on a few of his jumping attacks so that if they hit on the way up, they're more negative and sometimes punishable. So jumping hard punch, if you hit this on the way up, like that, you actually may get hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's the same with jumping hard kick. If you hit this on the way up, spacing was bad there. You might get punished or hit on that as well. So you're gonna have to hit those buttons a little later if you want to get that same advantage you used to have. Press it more, at the peak, which is a pretty big change because Aghanos is very hard to anti-air because he can put those buttons out on the way up in a lot of cases. And in this case, if you do that, you're gonna be in trouble. We also adjusted the amount of pushback opponents receive when blocking Peacemaker-related attacks, so you won't be sliding full screen anymore. Let's take a look at that as well. So you can see this used to just like really send people sliding, and now they don't slide so much anymore. It's a big change, especially the projectile one used to really fling people back.
Wow. That's so different.
Big change. And that is it for Aghanos. He can be really frustrating to fight against, and we always intended for him to be a bit weaker and only shine in the hands of specialist players. Over time, these specialist players have taken Aghanos so far that there's a solid argument for Aghanos being one of the top 5 strongest characters in the game. With many of the game's other strongest characters getting a little weaker, we didn't want to end up in a situation where Aghanos was the undisputed best, so hopefully these changes make fighting against him feel a little bit more fun and reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does.
I have a quick prediction from Flash.
Sure.
Saberwolf players. Saberwolf is going to destroy Aghanos.
We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes. I can see.
I'm excited about that because when you showed me these changes, I was very happy because I get just mangled by the beat stick in particular by Aghanos. I'm really
It
happy.
can be really hard to get in.
Yeah, but I think your prediction on the long tail on this is, I think we'll see that. Those specialists, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Flash may be in trouble when some of these guys show up with these specialized Aghanoses.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still going to be top 5 or not. It's hard for me to say. I'm not even sure I agree he was top 5 before, but some people thought so, and that's interesting.
I was gonna say Latalis seems very, very hype about his potential still in the chat. Like, yeah, it's still gonna be very strong.
Looks like the stream's chopping out again. Should I reset it? Derek, what do you think? Okay. Let me just refresh it real quick. Can't hurt.
I'm gonna refresh myself as well with the drink. But this is pretty good. Like, nurse,
Aghanos is,
buffs,
I think
balance,
the,
faster movement,
makes a lot of sense. Especially, we haven't seen
windows.
nerfs to like, or changes rather to like the other strong characters. Like Arya's on the screen, and you guys know who else is coming later down the line. So
I'm gonna grab myself a
very
drink.
curious to see the other changes.
Yeah. Well, I lost your feed on my Discord side. Let me just fix my side real quick. Okay, cool. All right, back to it. Sorry about that, folks. All right, for Cinder, I just have one small change for fixing some of his frame data on counter hits with his punch buttons. They were a little messy, so those do the proper amount on counter hit now as well. And let's talk about Arya. We reduced the damage on all of Arya's enders by 1 to 2 points per hit. It's not a huge dramatic change, but she's widely regarded as the hardest character to break, so we felt this was fair. This change does not affect her shadow enders or body swap enders. So we'll just take a look. 26% for a level 3 there. Let's do a level 4. Launch render, 36%. So it definitely gets your damage down a tiny bit. We can do the shotgun knee ender as well. Check that out. 36%. Yeah. All right. We reduced the pushback when blocking crescendo to add risk to and to make the frame data matter more. So in particular, the light version of this is -7 on block, and we haven't changed that, but she would bounce so far out of range that pretty much nobody could punish that. And now she stays a lot tighter to you after this move. A lot riskier. And I believe this applies to a lot of the air versions of the move as well. She does not bounce back as far. So these moves are just quite a bit more risky. Yeah.
Nice.
It's a good change.
Yeah, a lot of the moves got stuff like this, right? So.
Yeah. Another one like that, her jumping medium kick also got adjusted. We reduced the distance she pushes herself away from you, but we increased the vertical distance, so she bounces up a lot higher after doing this move. And that's going to leave her in a precarious position if she's not smart about how she uses this, or waits till she gets a little bit lower in order to make sure there's enough stun to cover her. So a lot easier move to deal with now as well. We made some adjustments to the drone assist calls. The drone assist calls now leave the drones punishable for 30 frames longer than before. So let's check that out real quick.
Wow.
We got the blade drone. Let's do the base one first. So that's out there for quite a bit longer, you can tell.
Since a while.
Quite a bit of time to smack it. And the blade drone, lots of time to smack that as well. Big change. And then a really big one is the booster drone, actually. This one goes behind you in a lot of cases. So you would block this one, and it would end up behind you, like that. And then it would fully recover, and then fly home. And while it was flying home, it was invincible. So what we did about this one was we made it so that when it's flying home, it's not invincible, and you can actually tag it on the way home. Huge change.
Yeah, these are big. I mean, I'm guessing it slows down how fast you can call the assists, right?
Yeah.
Because there's actual recovery on them.
Right, it's 30 frames longer before they get home before she can call them again. So
Right.
big change for her. She's going to have to work quite a bit harder to cover the drones. But as a small burf, which is a buff and a nerf at the same time, we made her sword drone launch you quite a bit higher. And that's because after we made the change, before we made this launch higher, it was punishable on hit. The sword would launch you, you would fall, get up, and then punch the sword before it recovered, which just felt really bad for the Arya player. But because of this, it actually opened up some nice new juggle combos for her that I'm looking forward to seeing players explore. I don't have any good ones, but you get the idea, right? You can get some cool new stuff going off of that, which is nice. So yeah, Arya's going to have to work harder to cover her assist calls, and to use the assist calls to cover herself. Her looping pressure will loop a little more slowly, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, next up, her medium and heavy shotgun blitz moves. That's these guys. They used to low crush on frame 1. Now the medium one low crush is on 5, and the heavy on frame 4. So the light one was always 6, so now they go 6, 5, 4. It just seemed way too powerful to have such a difficult to punish move work as a low crush so quickly, and this adjustment's going to weaken Arya's defense against lows considerably. Next up, another adjustment for the shotgun blitz special moves. We added more hit stop on block to the first hit of these. So there used to be 10 across the board. Now it's 14, 16, 18 on light, medium, heavy. Despite being 2 hits, this move has been notoriously hard to shadow counter compared to other similar moves. So now it's a bit easier on the light version, and gets even easier if she uses heavy ones. So here's the light one, medium, and heavy. So quite easy to shadow counter the heavy one on reaction now compared to before, which was very difficult.
Yeah,
That's also a huge change for her. And this move still has very low whiff recovery. She's still going to use it a lot, so just jump in and close in distance behind an assist or whatever. But yeah, I don't think you're going to get free shotgun pressure against people who are paying attention and have enough meter to shadow counter, which is great.
Yeah, doing shotgun 700 times in a row and back that shotgun.
Yeah, exactly.
Much more manageable, yeah.
Yeah. So Arya is meant to be a powerful character. She carries some of the highest risk in the entire game. If she loses body, she loses options permanently, and matches can snowball against her really harshly. So over time, the strongest Arya players have proven that mitigating this weakness is not only quite possible, but it can leave opponents feeling like they don't have any answers at all. The above changes They're going to leave Arya in a very strong position, which is intended, but she'll need to play a bit more thoughtfully to not leave herself open or her drones open to counterattack. So I do expect her to still be up there in the rankings, but require more thought and more patience.
Yeah, seems right to me. Definitely a character that needed a little tuning on some of the more like frustrating aspects.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was at 720. Want me to switch to 1080?
Might as well try her.
Oh
out
yeah, the
again,
in-game
then.
is 1080. Yeah.
Why not? Like, it seems some good differences for Arya. now.
Moving on, we got Kim. Kim Woo. And Tush.
Tush.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
I want to give your voice a break for a second. Wait for you to
He
just
looks
flow.
like Maximilian.
There's been a lot of questions around the
It's like
additions and stuff
Maximilian's
because
on
a
the
lot of
game.
people came in late, or maybe I just didn't go through it clear enough. But a really great question came in. What about Game Pass KI? And I just wanted to just clarify. Hey, if you already have AI via Game Pass, the edition is just getting swapped out to Anniversary Edition, so you'll have it if you already have Game Pass. And then all these balance updates are all free in the base game of KI, so there's no world where the balance updates aren't in whatever version you're playing. So anyway, I just wanted to interrupt with that really quick
That's
to
good.
alleviate
That's
concerns
good.
about Game Pass.
Everywhere it's
I
the
appreciate it.
same.
Give me time to take off that shirt. I was getting way too
Different
hot.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to Kim Woo. So because of Sonic Dolphin's performances with Kim Woo, we've decided to nerf this character into the ground. I'm absolutely kidding. She got all buffs. All right. So we increased Kim's forward and backward walk speeds by 15%. She was already pretty fast, so she's very nimble now, which I think suits kind of the small character aspect of her. This is going to help her play grounded footsies with the best of them. She has some really good buttons as well, especially these ones, standing medium punch, medium kick, and heavy kick. Really great buttons. We've also increased her jump gravity to make her jump arc a bit less floaty. This makes her very strong set of jumping attacks much more threatening, but if you had any safe jump timings in the past, you may have to rethink them. I mentioned that to Sonic Dolphin and he laughed. He said, safe jumps? Ha! I guess this character didn't have any, so... her jump is Jago's jump now. It's basically the same gravity as Jago's jump. So it's not one of the best jumps in the game. It's pretty middle of the road, but she's not so floaty anymore.
Yeah.
But because of that,
That's
some of her jump attacks, which are really good, we had to make their hit stun and block stun a little bit less, kind of similar to what we did with Aghanos, to make sure that these weren't too bad, right? So if she does some of these attacks, on the way up, let me get to the corner so this isn't so tough for me. She's going to get punished on the way down. So you're going to have to hit these a little bit deeper to make sure that they do what you want them to do. And the moves that got that adjustment are jumping light punch, jumping medium punch, jumping heavy punch, and jumping light kick. The medium kick and the heavy kick are not touched. Those are the same as they were.
Gotcha.
It's just because of the hitboxes and active time on those. All right, so this one I can't demo against Tusk, but you have to just trust me. All normal versions of her dragon kick now ignore armor. That's this guy right here. This is a unique ability for Kim. It's specifically added to the game to help in her matchup against Aghanos, which is widely regarded as one of the most lopsided matchups in the game. So she's got a little something now for that. We also increased the travel speed and total distance traveled by the light dragon kick. This makes it a stronger whiff punish tool. So you can see it almost reaches full screen now. Moves pretty quick. If somebody's, walking around just doing this, you can usually punish it, tag them with that. But because that ended up being very strong, we had to decrease the damage on the light dragon kick. So I'm sure Kim players already noticed that this used to deal 30 damage, now it deals 20. Big drop. Used to be 35 on counter hit, and now it's 25.
wow.
And because of that first hit multiplier and the way the game works, that means that a raw light dragon kick now does 40 damage instead of 60, and a counter hit does 50 instead of 70. But considering all of the extra properties it's got with the distance and the armor break, it's a really great tool for her. And we did not drop the damage of the medium or heavy version. They'll still deal what they used to. They're still a lot harder to hit. One thing I do want to note, though, is because of the extra distance on this, if you block this standing, it's going to be what you remember. But a lot of times what happens with this new version of the move is if you block it crouching, she just flies over your head. And she has a lot of recovery. You can still punish her, but you need to be ready for it, because if you're not, you might try to hit jab or something, and she's way over here.
Right.
So if you hit the right button, though, you'll hit her and you'll be fine. You'll get that punch.
That's really funny looking.
It does have to have range, though.
I don't think I've seen a move like you block like that and then still go over someone's head. Like I can't think of a fighting game move like that.
It just ended up being like a goofy interaction that we kind of thought was cool. The medium and heavy dragon kick moves now count as being in air 1 frame sooner than before. The only reason for this is it corrected that bug Sonic Dolphin would always do on main stage at Counter Breaker, where he'd make Kim like teleport across the screen. It was horrible looking, and I wanted it gone, so it's gone.
Love that.
Yeah. And that's it for Kim. I think it's not a huge amount of things for Kim, but that walk speed is wild. And, I do think the whiff punish game with this move, if you're paying attention, is among the best in the game. So definitely put a lot of attention into it. It's very good.
Yeah, and the nice thing is for Kim players who don't want to play footsies, you can just pretend you're trying to whiff punish when you do that move, and then just do it anyway.
Yeah, and then dragon cancel it if you have one.
Yeah, that's also good too.
Yeah.
What happens when you dragon cancel it when someone's like crouching? Do you like just go flying?
I guess I need a dragon, so let's do this.
I have no idea. I'm very curious.
It stopped me in front. If I wait till I pass over, then I just move forward.
Oh god. Okay.
Yeah.
Not too wild. Yeah, I was just curious.
She doesn't cross back over you or something.
Nope.
Yeah, if she just went the other way, like double left right mix up.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we fixed a couple counter hit frame data issues for her as well. Next up is Tusk.
That will be cool.
We only got one major change for Tusk, which is that we reduced the cost of his Berserker cancels during Instinct by 30% to make his Instinct more threatening. So he can do his Berserker cancels. I'm doing that on gamepad. Wow, I'm the best. Okay. I'm not a gamepad player. That was very impressive to myself. But you can get a lot more of those cancels out now, so I think Tusk is actually a really good character, and if you've ever like fought Latalyses, this change probably scares you a little bit. But just, 30% more time in that mode is probably pretty scary, but yeah, that's it for Tusk.
Yeah, his instinct's already very powerful, so
Yeah.
yeah, that is scary.
He got some fixes on inconsistent counter hit stuff as well. Arbiter did it as well, even though it's not directly a balance change. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Arbiter can reload.
Finally made it far enough down the list to reach Rash.
He must have gotten lots of brave buffs, right?
He has a page and a half of nerfs.
Oh. Oh.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he really needed it, man.
That's
Like,
interesting.
he could do so much great stuff with this guy, man.
The moment you've all been waiting for, it's here. Wrecking Ball adjustments. Let's start there. Everyone's least favorite move. We've removed armor entirely from the air version of Wrecking Ball.
Oh, wow.
Just the air version. Rash players were able to use this to completely circumvent the risk of approach and start their offense far too easily. Wrecking Ball, both air and ground versions, now have heavy attack priority. It used to be special attack priority. So because of the lack of armor on the air version, this means beating it cleanly is much more reasonable to do, which I will now fail to do multiple times in a demo. I'm gonna get it. Hold on. Oh no. Doing 2 controls. I'm no Sakurai, There, got it. 3 tries. That's not too bad. So that's a big deal. We've also reduced the block stun on the Wrecking Ball moves to 10 frames each. It used to be 18 frames on the ground version and a criminal 24 frames on the air version. That had to have been a typo. Why would I do that? So yeah, if you block these moves now, I did not mean to jump on the player 2 controller. Give me a moment. Here? You have a lot more time to kind of scoot under or throw out an anti-air because the block stun time is so much less. So you just have a lot more time to make a response. Rash still has the luxury of being able to do this, forward moving, really good move and still attack afterwards and all that kind of stuff. But you have to use that move a lot more thoughtfully now, especially the air version, which has no armor.
Yeah.
There's way more gamble now
All right,
to this
standing
game.
heavy kick.
Really?
We've added 6 frames of recovery time to the standing heavy kick. You can actually probably see the animation looks a little different. He kind of holds his leg up a little longer at the end. I like it.
Yeah.
We've added a little bit of recovery time to the standing heavy kick, but we also added 6 frames of block stun and hit stun time so that the frame advantage is the same as before.
Okay.
But it's going to make whiff punishing this move like a lot more reasonable. You can see it and then smack him, which you really couldn't do before. It's very difficult to whiff punish. In addition to that, we've also shortened the cancel window on the standing heavy kick. It can now be canceled between frames 19 and 21. It used to be between 19 and 30, which was also a little bit criminal. And we also reduced the hit stop that this move inflicts by 3 frames. The result, hit confirming standing heavy kick, is much more challenging. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's much, much harder though. Most of the time when I try it, I'm too late. But I do think somebody who's really, really paying attention could probably still do it. But pretty hard. Next up, we added 5 frames of recovery time to the overhead hammer fist command normal on whiff, so that also makes this a little easier to whiff punish. And we adjusted the block stun, so it's still -3 on block. But we didn't adjust the hit stun time because it crumple and recaptures, so you can already link whatever you want off of this. It's not a big deal. It's just trying to make it a little bit more whiff punishable, so we can't just kind of like do this over and over again quite as easily. We reduced the damage on the opener versions of Battering Ram to reduce his corner and instinct combo damage a bit. These used to do 10, 13, and 16 damage for light, medium, and heavy. Now it's 8, 9, and 10. So less damage on these. Gargos' wings are in the way, of course, but
Yeah.
We've drastically reduced the wall splat range of Rash's Wrecking Ball Ender. It pushes slightly less than half as far as it used to. This was the best wall splat Ender in the game. He pushed you back, and he was flying at you while he pushed you back. So he pushed you back extra far so he could fly with you. He would go like 2 full screen lengths and get wall splats from anywhere. After the nerf, this is still the best wall splat Ender in the game. Just way less, like 45% of what it used to be. So let's take a look.
Yeah.
He lands a bit farther from you now.
Yeah.
We had to adjust the frame advantage so he'd be even and not be punishable if he didn't hit the wall, because before he was actually punishable if he didn't hit the wall. But way less far than before. Still probably one of the best, or not, if not the best, wall splat Enders in the game.
Yeah. It was wild before, for sure. He took you way too far.
Yep. His throw now deals 35 damage. It used to be 45. Nice little drop there. His throw has the added benefit of being able to reposition or change directions, or even delay the release to combo into instinct projectiles. It just didn't make sense for it to do so much upfront damage, so now it does less. We've also lowered the damage of every hit of all of his Ender types by 1 to 2 points. Rash is a highly mobile character with many reasonably safe ways to open up opponents, so his damage output was just a little bit too high for the risk factor. So we'll do a level 4 Ender here. Take a look. It's just a little bit of a decrease, not huge, 42%. That probably would have been like 46 before, maybe 40, 45. And then this next one's pretty big. We reduced the damage on Shadow Big Bad Boot. It used to do 32. Used to do 52 total. Now it says 32. So a little bit less on block as well. It seems absurd in retrospect that this move was hit so much harder than, say, a Jago Shadow Uppercut, despite covering so much more space on the screen, doing so much more chip damage, being way easier to confirm into instinct or for safety or pressure. This change is also going to reduce Rash's juggle cash-outs considerably, forcing him to risk a more breakable recapture in order to score a more optimal grounded Ender for damage. So let's take a look. That's a lot less damage on the Shadow Big Bad Boot. Huge change. 8. Yes. So, that's a lot of Rash nerfs. I went through them pretty fast. That's going to seem like a lot, but in practice, he's still a menace. He easily circumvents a lot of the game's zoning. He has strong pressure, and he can deal difficult-to-break damage. So let's hope his overall risk matches his reward a bit better after all of this. I wouldn't be surprised if he's still pretty good.
Yeah, I expect him to probably still be pretty strong. Because his tools are great, even if he is just a bit weaker in a bunch of different ways. His tools are really strong.
Yeah. So next up is Gargos. Yeah, go ahead, James. Yeah.
Yeah, so I could give you a recap on the Rash reaction. I'm pretty sure you know how that went. I think there's the Alan Speed is probably writing a song right now about it. Let me just answer one of the questions that keeps coming up. Crossplay. So we didn't really cover that, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there because it keeps getting pinged. Someone asked me to do this. So yeah, crossplay is still there. You can still play Exhibition and Lobbies crossplay Steam to Xbox/PC, which is Windows. But ranked, there's no ranked crossplay. We did not turn that on. That's not something that we can do. So it is Xbox/PC ranked as always, and then Steam is its own ranked ecosystem. So that answers that one. I appreciate everybody asking that question, and hopefully that helps.
I don't mind that as much. Like, if the people really like to
moving on,
play
Gargos.
they're gonna buy it on both. So.
Arguably a character that doesn't need a nerf, but this is one of those things that was just really frustrating for folks, so we wanted to tone it down a little bit, and that's the portal punches. So we reduced the damage on light portal punch to 7, used to be 10, a little bit less damage on those. We also, let me switch sides so you can see the life bar. We also reduced the block stun inflicted by all of the portal punches by 5, so they do a little bit less block stun than before. And that means you're going to be able to press a button to tag a minion or dash or something like that much sooner after this if you want to try and get in on Gargos. Again, I don't think he's like a super successful character that needed a nerf, but this was just one of those things that was really frustrating for a lot of the player base, and we wanted to tone it down a little bit.
Okay. That's it?
Gotcha. Man, those Rash changes. I love the people in the chat who are like, Rash is dead, and also Rash is still top 1. I saw both.
Well, have to see. I have no idea how it's going to shake out, but my suspicion is he's probably still reasonably strong.
Yeah.
All right, let's check out General Rom and Idol. All right, so for General Rom, we just have one change.
I remember you.
I think it's a pretty
Tim.
big one, but it may sound small to some folks. We'll see.
With your General Rom.
All versions. Let me turn him on human real quick. All versions of the Crow Rush. That's this guy right here. The running grab.
Yeah.
They now attempt to grab 1 frame after the run ends. It used to be 5. So is that part of the animation where he stops and like reaches for you? It used to be 5 frames after that started that he would grab you, and now it's 1 frame after that starts that he grabs you. So the issue we're running into is that Crow Rush, this move, is armored. It has the Krill armor on it. But that armor would end right as he started to try to grab you, and because there was a 5-frame window in there between the running ending and the grab, we would either have to give him another instance of armor there because of the way the game is built, so he'd get refreshed armor for 5 frames, or we had to shorten that window. Otherwise, he would just be left unarmored completely for 5 frames, which made the move just feel so much harder to use. It's also like not the highest reward move. You just get poison, a tiny bit of damage, and you're in like a +4 situation, which is nice, but it just felt like this move could stand to be a little stronger. So that's the change we made. It's a lot harder to kind of jump out of these on reaction. And you certainly are not going to find times where you mash jab and just kind of blow up the armor for no reason. Again, I think this is a bigger change than it sounds like it is, but it'll be hard to know until we see ROM players like put it into practice, because this isn't even a move that they used super often because it wasn't a very good move, and now it's a pretty good move. Cool.
Okay.
Moving on to Idol.
I'm very curious, yeah.
Yeah, so we made some adjustments to his self-face punch. I think I need to change some options here. I need to probably turn off regenerating health. Yeah. So we reduced the odds of changing modes after using the wake up self face punch significantly. It used to take like I think a worst case of 4 punches, and now I think the worst case I've seen is 9 punches to change. We've increased the self damage done by this as well from 5 to 10. So I'll demo this in a second, but Idol is 2 characters in one, each with their own favorable and difficult matchups. But unfortunately, Idol players are finding it too quick and too low risk to stay in the mode they want to stay in, which heavily circumvents the intended weakness. So to combat this, we took a pretty hard swing at the face punching mechanic to make players think twice about using it to stay in a favorable matchup state. So I'm just going to start hitting myself. You can see how much damage I'm doing to myself. I got it in 3 that time, which is very uncommon. 2 that time. Wow, this is just the worst demo. 4 or 5 that time.
He is punching. He is very strong though.
Yeah, it took 6 that time. But the way it works, right, is like every time you do a thing that could change him, like a special move or whatever, it rolls the dice to see if he'll change, and if it doesn't, it adds a percentage chance to that, so it's more likely to happen next time. And a face punch is the same type of thing. It just adds a little bit of percentage and rolls the dice for you real quick. So you're still going to add a lot of percentage by just like doing these types of moves, right? You can just throw out special moves and add that percentage, and then eventually go for the switch with the punch, and it should work out. I'm getting really fast switches right now. I think I'm just getting really favorable RNG, but you'll find in practice it actually takes quite a bit longer to switch on purpose in most cases.
Oh god, that was a lot of punches. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's more like it usually. So, again, may the RNG gods be with you. Next up, his Shadow Bolt Strike.
That's really weird, though. That it happened like that.
His Shadow Bolt Strike is now fully invulnerable to projectiles only. It used to be fully invulnerable on startup. And to be honest, nobody on the design team remembers making that invulnerable in the first place, so we'll chalk it up to a questionable decision from past us. Mage mode was not intended to have reversal options outside of this one, backwards telestrike. So in order to make sure that Mage mode has an answer to meaty projectile setups, we just kept the projectile invincibility on the first 14 frames of this. So you're not going to be using that to get out of pressure as Mage anymore.
No.
Also, his Stomp Strike has been adjusted. These used to be 0, +2, and +3 on block. Now they're -2, -4, and -6. And they still push you back quite a bit and all that, right? So you won't always get a punish on them. But it just didn't make sense for Mage Mode to have up-close pressure as good as the Stomp Strikes were enabling. So getting rid of that, along with getting rid of that invulnerable Shadow Bolt Strike, it's going to put Mage Mode's weaknesses where they were always intended to be, which is that he's going to want to not be up close to opponents. He's going to want to zone.
Yeah, the stomps were wild before.
Yeah, and that's it for Idol. Not a huge amount of changes, but I think in practice they're going to make a pretty big dent on the game plan. So we'll see how that goes as well.
Yeah, I mean, he is quite a strong character, so
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it makes sense.
Take more hits.
And we're down to our last two characters. We got Eagle and
Not too
Shinsaku.
happy about it, to be honest.
Yeah, Idol in Mage Mode bullying you so hard was definitely not fun up close. You're like, why am I being stomped to death?
Yeah. Alright, let's check this out. I'm going to do Shin Hisako first. I just put her on player 2 because it's a little easier for me to control Eagle on arcade stick for various reasons. Okay, cool. Shin Hisako, only one change on this character. I think this is a character loaded with untapped potential, but it was very clear that she had a real struggle in matchups against zoners. And the change that we made was we made it so that her forward-moving Spirit Orb moves twice as fast as it used to. So let's take a look. Forward-moving Spirit Orb. That thing is cruising now. And of course she can teleport to it at any time. She can unleash those in the air. It takes a lot less time for you to wait till it to get into a good position to teleport in, which is great.
Okay.
Additionally, she has incredibly good walk speeds. And before you would put out one of these and just like, you know, it'd be off screen already behind me. And you can't go full speed with them or anything like that. They are pretty fast, not that fast, but you can actually kind of like stay near it and be more threatening and just kind of poke these into a fireball whenever you want. And they have really good priority against other projectiles as well, so you know they're good for an opportunity to blow through a projectile at the right distance and make something happen. I think it's a huge change for her, and I think it's going to really help with the matchups that were really bad for her as well. Because again, I think she's a very, you know, rich character filled with untapped potential that was just really struggling because some of those matchups were just really hard.
Yeah,
I mean, feeling you're a fan of this girl.
She probably needed to be able to move a little bit more with it.
Yeah,
She's already twice in the
watching her
game.
just get walled out. She's kind of a character where she either ran away and did stuff and she looked really good, or she just like couldn't get in and you're like, well.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, and then lastly, let's talk about Eagle. Eagle is the only other character we teased would be changing a bit. He was the last character we ever released for the game, and as such, he had the least amount of time to get tweaks and adjustments and stuff. We made quite a lot of changes to him here with the goal of tuning him a bit more towards zoning and a bit away from lockdown. He still has a little bit of that though. To get him more in line with our original vision for the character. So, you know, of all the characters, I think this is probably one of the bigger adjustments you'll have to make if you're an Eagle player. First up, we added 4 additional frames of block stop and hit stop to the bow spin, just like full Gorse, just to make it a little easier to shadow counter. Not a huge deal. I guess I should make her block it, right, so you can see it. Yeah, there you go. Alright, so next up, we lengthened. This is a huge mix of buffs and nerfs, they're not in any particular order. You'll know what's a buff and a nerf as I say it, for sure. But we lengthened the recovery time that the bird suffers after Sonic Screech and Bird Bomb actions. So that's this guy, Sonic Screech. You can wait to see how long it takes for the bird to recover. When he flashes, that's when I can use him again, right? So that's now 120 frames of recovery, used to be, or sorry, 210 frames of recovery, used to be 120. And the Bird Bomb is now 180 frames of recovery, used to be 120. So it's quite a bit more recovery on these bird actions, these particularly powerful bird actions. So you're going to have to use these moves a bit more thoughtfully. We also added 4 frames of block stun to each hit of the Sonic Screech to trigger Absolute Guard. Absolute Guard means that if you're blocking and you let go of block, you continue to block, right?
Yeah.
So if I block that and I let go of block on Hisako, she's going to keep blocking it. And the issue here was Eagle would make you block the Sonic Screech and then just jump over you. And you would get hit every single time. Like that is just a really hard cross-up to block. And in this case now, let's see if I can do it here. Oh, that's the wrong motion. Gotta let the bird reset. And there he goes. So now, the Absolute Guard is going to save you. You're not going to get opened up completely for free every time you block the bird screech. But, On the other side of that, you can't wiggle out either. That's a true
Yeah.
block string now. You can't just like do a projectile invincible move to kind of scoot out of
You're
there.
anchored
So it
in
has
there.
a little bit of a buff to it as well, but I think overall I would consider it a nerf. We also adjusted the bird bomb explosion area, the hitbox on this, to be both bigger, like taller, and hit closer to Eagle. So it's harder to wedge yourself like in between the explosion and him and just avoid it completely. It's his only defensive tool, and it was just too easy to jump over or get behind previously. And I think the longer recovery on the bird bomb also helps justify this change.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We also increased the damage on bird bomb. It used to be 14, now it's 20. We added some additional pushback to bird swoop. This is going to aid his zoning a lot. You can see it kind of gives you a little shove when you block it, very similar to Ario's booster drone. And we've increased the damage on bird swoop from 10 to 15, so a little bit more damage into his zoning. The arrows don't hit that hard, but you can kind of throw out the bird. It's one of his lower recovery actions as well, to aid your zoning and make it even cooler. Alright, so moving on, this is my favorite buff for Eagle, I think. But we got some bird fling improvements. This move was just filled with issues that I wish I had caught back then. We corrected an issue where the game was not checking for the 3-kick input properly when pressing all 3-kick buttons manually, like on an arcade stick. So doing the bird fling on a pad with the shortcut 3-kick button felt great, but on stick it just didn't work most of the time. But that is fixed now, so if you're a stick user and an Eagle player, you're going to find getting these bird flings out if you use the 3-kicks manually to feel vastly more reliable, just so much more reliable. That's a nice change. There was another issue though. We fixed an input check, an issue where the input check after the bird fling could miss your button if you were too fast. So you do like bird fling and then attack, and you're like, oh, I got it, and then the game's like, no, you were too fast, your move's not coming out, and you never want to be punished for being too quick. So we fixed that as well. So you can see it's very easy to get these attacks out now and do your little, your little Magneto triangle dash stuff. Even a heavy will come out in time. Pretty easy to do, feels so much better. And of course, you can do those off of his flip as well. So you can do like this flip and then, dash in front of somebody, do an attack. Like that kind of thing is pretty cool.
Oh god. Yeah, that's great.
He could always do that, it just felt unreliable to do it. It feels a lot more reliable now.
You hit it like basically every time after the first couple.
Yeah, you just won't miss this anymore. We vastly increased the fling distances on all of the non-down directions for bird fling. And it's going to be a lot easier to move fling to move around the screen and kind of use it to aid your zoning, right? So obviously the down ones are for offense or for trickery. You're near somebody, you do one of these, you go low, you do, jump over them and then come back and hit them, typical 8-way air dash stuff. But the other ones are really interesting. This back one sends you about this far. The forward one sends you about that far. And then let's check up back. You can go up here and shoot an arrow from an interesting angle, right? The up one goes up pretty high. You can shoot an arrow from up really high now. And then, of course, the up forward one. And, if you want to, you could probably do something like that and almost kick somebody from full screen.
If they move the bed,
if you were so inclined. I almost made it. But yeah, he can move quite a bit. The bird fling just feels a lot better. Just feels so much better to use, and I'm looking forward to seeing people kind of mix this into their movement and their zoning to cover new angles and just make the character feel a lot more threatening from a distance than he used to. Since his lockdown is definitely a lot worse now that all of his pressure strings involving this have longer delay before the next loop and all that kind of stuff. And then lastly, we made an adjustment to his instinct mode. Eagle's instinct mode was widely recognized as the weakest in the game, and worse than being the weakest, which would have been fine, it often feels like it gets in the player's way, which is really bad. So because some of his most oppressive lockdown has been weakened, we wanted to try to improve his instinct mode and make it worth using. So here's what we did. Peck now deals an additional 10 frames of hit stun, time to grounded opponents. This is Peck when the bird attacks automatically afterwards, so you have a lot more time to attack again. Peck is now going to launch airborne opponents into a juggle state, like that, so it's a little easier to do something. So the standing hard kick always launches, right? So if you kind of have Peck on deck and it's in the right spot, you can launch somebody up with that. And as a reminder, he can cash out juggles with this move.
Yeah.
And we've increased the hitbox size on Peck by 2x, much larger. So it basically almost never whiffs now. And it would happen a lot before, especially against a character as small as Hisako, where the Peck would just not even touch her. She'd be crouch blocking and it would totally miss. And you can see now that it definitely hits. You can definitely put the pressure on with this, which is very, very nice.
This looks way better. This looks way more fun too.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can do, you know, you can do cool combos with it, something like that, right? It's kind of fun. Feels good to do. This just makes it's a useful instinct mode now. I'm not gonna say it's like the top instinct mode or anything, but it's useful now. You'll actually want to use it and do some cool stuff with it, which is awesome.
I imagine with like playing and pack and everything, you probably have some more stuff that you can do, and that's like fun. And also just doing buttons. It seems just better to like walk down.
Yeah, it comes out when you jump too, so you can jump over people and do something like that. And because the hit stun's longer, you might actually get a combo off of it now, whereas before it was actually pretty hard to do. So that's a lot of potential there as well. I think overall, Eagle's probably a bit better than before, but less of a nightmare to fight against.
Yeah, I mean, he was
doing his game plan more and less like pin you in the corner with infinite arrows and infinite bird.
Yep.
Yeah, he was really like when he was going before, it was like miserable, but when he's not, it was like all right. But this looks like more the power shifted, right? Like he's like got access to strong tools and stuff and cool things to do, but it's not just like I do Screech and then I hop and I'm chilling. It's like such a he kind of did one thing really well before, and now it's like
exactly. And that's it. That's the balance.
Nice. Yeah, I think most of the changes to me make the characters more interesting and less degenerate, because you know we like the degenerate stuff in KI, but like you don't want it to be like this is the thing I do, this is the good thing. So yeah, I like the changes.
Yeah, hopefully players' playstyles will shine a little bit better with some of these changes and some of the most frustrating stuff folks have been dealing with. Maybe even in some cases they quit the game because some of the stuff crossed the line for them personally, and so they said this was too frustrating. Hopefully some of that stuff is toned down now. You can come back and give the game another try and have a lot of fun, you know, being a powerful character that's just a little less frustrating to fight against.
Guess that's the main aim of this,
especially those characters that didn't get changes. They're all very strong characters, and I think you will find they feel stronger now because some of those most difficult characters to fight are definitely toned down a bit.
I think
I imagine the power level of those characters feels much more reasonable now, for sure. And so like if you're like, oh man, I didn't get any changes on, like, I don't know, say a wolf or something, but like now Aghanos is a little weaker, and then obviously like Rash is a little weaker, Arya is a little weaker. You're just like, wait a minute, this feels I can actually play the video game now against them, right? So
exactly. So Steve, what changes are you most looking forward to testing out on your stream after this?
Well, it's funny, I don't know if it's like a change necessarily, but I'm actually really interested in trying Eagle in this version. He looks way more of a character that I would like to play, and since I played Fulgore for a long time, I really want to mess with the cancels. When you did like shallow blade dash into laser, I was like, okay,
it's like playing Morgan Fireball loops.
It's a soul. Like, I saw that, I was like, okay, I can mess with that. That looks really cool. I'm super down.
Well, like we told you guys at the top of the show, Steve has access to this build, and he's going to be going live on his stream right when we shut down this stream. He's going to be able to test some stuff out in the training mode and show you guys hopefully a better frame rate than I've been able to broadcast. So right when the stream ends, the after party's going on twitch.tv/SageJam. If you want to see more of this build and explore it with him, head over. I might even show up and play some matches against him.
Definitely
See how it
go
goes.
see that. Because this guy makes awesome content as well.
Yeah, and that's it. Steve, thank you so much for coming and helping out with this. Let's bring James back on and do some closing information. James, welcome back.
Hey, I'm so glad I was off camera that whole time. I was like,
aww.
I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you play two things at once and show everything so seamlessly. But I was also
I made so many mistakes. I feel so embarrassed.
Oh man, well at least you
did okay. You did okay.
On a few simple ones.
All right, so.
But hey. I also been watching the chat, and I will just say that I want to answer every single thing, but when there's this many thousands of people in there, it's just impossible. So this gave me a chance to slow down a bit for the end here. So let's talk about, let's just recap a few things. I want everybody to remember that at the beginning of the show, we talked about the fact that we're consolidating the editions from the many down to just, here we go, KI base game and anniversary edition. This will be on all three platforms. Steam is getting free to play. Existing owners of Steam get an automatic free upgrade to this. Anybody who owned KI Supreme Edition or KI Definitive Edition digitally, you automatically get an upgrade to this. And anybody who had any a la carte content, if you had just like one season, if you had a couple characters, don't worry, all that stuff is still unlocked in Anniversary Edition. You don't need to do anything. The only thing that we're doing that you need to remember is that we are retiring all of those previous editions in the a la carte option. So you only have these two options when you're done. So that means if you ever want to buy just one more character, or if you thought, hey, I really want the KI Classics, you should go get Definitive Edition, or you can just buy one character right now. Or if you have Game Pass, you don't need to do anything. We're just going to replace the existing KI in Game Pass with this upgraded Anniversary Edition. So, we're just trying to make it as simple and easy as possible. So, yeah, and it's Black Friday sale, so I think I saw that KI Definitive Edition is about $13-ish on all the platforms. So,
Whoa!
Yeah, it's a great time to buy it, and you don't lose by doing that. I mean, you're going to get all of the accessories if you already have them when this comes out.
I don't mind it.
Friends or people in the
price.
FTC have been wanting to give it a try. I mean,
I
have them
think
get that
it's a
version
fair
quick.
price.
Yeah, totally. And I also mentioned earlier that the free-to-play base game is much nicer now that it's all of the whole cast rotating every week. So again, if you have any friends who have been on the fence or just wasn't sure, once this comes out, they get to check out a character each week, and you get to play all the modes in there. And that's the other thing that we do that's a little different. We let you go ranked, Shadow Lords, single player, whatever you want to do. Go for it. You may not know this one. Here's some secret sauce. If you play Shadow Lords in free-to-play mode, you actually get Jago unlocked permanently by simply completing the tutorial. And then
He just got bugged.
Take him into Shadow Lab, make Shadow AI with your free Jago. And if you get halfway through progression in Shadow Lords, you get a free Orchid. So that's not... I don't think we really made that common knowledge. I think we hyped it up back in 2016 when we launched the thing.
Yeah.
So that's the recap on a la carte and the modes. Let's talk about 86. Our friends at 86. They're doing their Black Friday event right now. I just looked at their countdown. I think there's 4 days left. They've brought back some of the shirts that were previously gone, like Riptor and Cinder they sold out of. They've brought that back. They've done a refreshed design on Thunder, and they've also refreshed the design on Glacius. Check this out. I mean, I look like a beast now. It's great. They fixed me up. So, I love this shirt. It's blue.
Okay.
I'm all into blue. So, and there's one last thing. 86 also has something new for you that just went live during the stream.
Ooh.
We finally have a Jago shirt. It's taken a while.
pretty
but
cool,
I
though.
love this design. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And so, yeah, that's it from the merch hype
Okay,
department.
okay.
All right, everybody.
I wonder what
That
KI
concludes
for
our
life
show.
is
The
gonna
patch
do.
notes should be online very shortly, if not right now. So check the link in the chat or on our social media when that comes up. A big special thanks to Sajam for helping today, and to the entire secret NDA test group for helping us make this update as good as possible. They were truly wonderful to work with, and they got to experience, daily iteration builds, which I think was pretty cool for them as well. It was really fun to work with them. The teams at Xbox and Iron Galaxy sincerely hope you all enjoy exploring this new version of Killer Instinct. We want you to post your feedback and videos with the hashtag PlayKI wherever you post. And if you did a live reaction restream, toss us that link so we can check it out. We'll be watching all the awesome stuff you discover and matches you play. And be sure to join that after party stream on Sajam's channel, twitch.tv/Sajam, right after this. After the new version comes out, go play, tell us what you think, give it a little time. We're really looking forward to hearing your feedback, and we'll be following it closely in case any additional adjustments to the game balance are needed. Okay, thanks for loving KI. Thanks for being with us today. That's it. That's our show. One more thing?
As soon as we know the release date, because we're in final testing right now,
Yes.
we will follow up. We'll hit you on social, and we will make sure you know.
Okay, cool.
It's soon.
Awesome.
Yes.
Getting ready.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you on Sajam's stream. Bye.
Alright. So, it looks really, really good. Like, the game is, it used to be chaotic and everything. And, now, they're actually really, they changed stuff, but they balanced stuff. They gave full go some cancels, so that way he has more tools. I think the one from Eagle is also pretty good. Gives a lot of more wiggle room. With Arya, I'm happy that she has more tools with the uppercut. We didn't see anything for Arbiter, so I'm not sure if anything else happened to Arbiter. But yeah, again, Eagle looked pretty good with that Eagle. Yeah, you only finally saw something of Shin Sago, not the normal one. We didn't see anything about Raptor, so I'm happy they didn't touch him because I'm a Raptor fan. And yeah, I think yeah, I didn't see Conrad that much. But yeah, I think it was overall it was a pretty good stream. And yeah, of course, there were a few issues, but yeah, as a streamer, you know, there are things that happen live, and you can't do anything about it. So, still pretty good of the team to bring out this balance report. I think it will invite a lot of people out to actually retry and yeah, retry their characters again, because like yeah, the balance is really there. The opportunity windows have really been opened for a lot of characters. The crazy stuff that people used to love to do and everything is now a bit toned down, but this way it gives the other player also the opportunity to actually react. And yeah, Kim was pretty wild as well, that fly over even on block. And then the double ones that you can only get from one side, that's good. Somebody else that I also missed was Cinder. Didn't see that much from Cinder. But yeah, overall I think it was a pretty good stream. I'm excited. I think I just might jump back into Killer Instinct. I wanted to do tournaments back in the day, but the problem was it wasn't a full roster at that time. And there were so many balance issues and everything that a lot of people didn't want to pay to play in a tournament in the Netherlands, where I'm at. But now, maybe things will change. People find that their characters are a bit more stronger. Yeah, they are nerfed, but that gives opportunities. They're not nerfed that the character isn't able to do anything anymore. I think the biggest the biggest changes is gonna be for the Glacius players, because they cannot spam as much with with their icicle that much. They have to play it a bit more safe. The Agonist players, they are not as overpowered as before, because they can easier be anti-aired, and they do a little less damage than before. So yeah, overall I'm excited and can't wait to see what you guys have in store in the future. My name is Ro MrE, and thank you for watching. Ciao.
Come here! Are you not entertained?